Hello, everybody. It's Graham Coath. It's Friday. It's midday. It means one thing only. If you're on LinkedIn, that means it's time for Wow Ergonomics. You like the way I said that today? Wow, great Ergonomics. I just like to make that slightly different every time in order to keep the people guessing out there. How are you?
I'm very well. Yourself? We haven't done one of these live for weeks, have we? We've kept in touch with everyone with sort of pre-records and those sort of things, but we haven't done one of these live shows for end of July, mid-July.
I can't remember the last time I was live at anything at all. So yeah, you're absolutely right. We've got two great, fantastic guests for you today, folks. I know that you've been excited for this all since yesterday, really. If we'd have told you sooner, you might have wet yourself. So I'm going to get rid of all of this around us so that we can bring the guests in, make a little bit of room. First to the stage today, I think we'll do ladies first. We have the wonderful Sarah Hunt. Here's Sarah.
Hello.
Hello.
You've never had an introduction like that, have you, Sarah?
I don't know. I'm sure I've been called wonderful before, but
wonderful. Yeah, I meant the song introduction. Fruitful Accounting. We'll find out a little bit about you and Fruitful Accounting in a minute. Thank you so much for joining us today. I also want to know what that mountain range is in the background that you've got there. And we also have the wonderful Brad Burton. Here he comes.
Boom. How you doing, Graham?
I'm fine, thank you. Brad, Steven, Brad, Sarah, they've already met, had a cup of coffee and all of that before. Brad and I have discovered that we are 39 minutes apart?
39-minute drive away, 21 miles.
Well, that means 15 minutes in the car, and we've got a coffee somewhere. We have to work out where that is, put a pin in the map, and make it happen sometime soon. That has to happen. As you can see, Stephen, who's on here today, doesn't drink coffee. He drinks Prime.
I don't drink Prime.
No.
You say that all the time. It is consumed by the person I share this workspace with, who is a lot younger than I, who likes Prime, and also Nike Air Jordan trainers. So we've got Prime one way and we've got Jordan trainers the other. So
well, two great examples of fantastic marketing there, and maybe we'll talk about that in a bit. Let's go first with our guests. Let's let them introduce themselves a little bit more, so that anybody watching can find out who they are. Sarah, tell us a little bit about you and your business, please.
Sure. So my business is called Fruitful Accounting, and I'm a chartered accountant. So I've been doing accounts for about 20 years. And then in 2018, I was on maternity leave and I saw an advert for selling on Amazon. And I thought, that looks like a fun business model. So I gave it a go and I imported products from China. I trademarked them, sold them on Amazon, had so much fun and met some incredible entrepreneurs doing that. And then after a while, I decided that I'd put the two together. I didn't actually want to sell on Amazon, but it was an industry that I was really passionate about and interested in. And the bookkeeping for it is absolutely nuts. It is so incredibly complicated. So I thought, with all my accounting experience, I will set up an accounting practice and see if I can help out some Amazon sellers, because there are thousands and thousands of them in the UK. And I dread to think how many of them are having a nightmare with their accounts. So that's what I do. I look after Amazon sellers.
We need more of that, because it's great.
Yeah.
It is great that there is an increase, and there has been a massive increase in entrepreneurs taking to the airwaves, as it were, of the internet over the last couple of years since COVID. But they do need that kind of professional help and support. Here's someone that knows more about that than probably anybody. Brad, tell us a bit about your business.
Well, it all depends, buddy. Listen, I'm probably most famously known for 4Networking. I founded 4Networking, actually started over in Somerset, which was a business networking organization. Nobody gave me a chance back in 2006. 68,000 real life business networking meetings ever. And then, of course, Boris Johnson asked us to stay at home on March the 20th, 2020. Not that I'm bitter in any way or form. My business collapsed effectively. So we was running 500 business networking meetings up and down the land, in Brewers Fairs. Boris Johnson told us to stay at home. We're no longer running business networking meetings. So I've had to adapt. But prior to that point, I've been motivational speaking, traveling around the world, inspiring audiences. And I was just talking to Sarah in the studio a second ago, and actually Sarah heard me speak at one of the big accountancy firms, and I seem to have fell into looking after accountants. It is weird, surreal. So I'm a motivational speaker, I am a mindset coach, and I also help team building teams. That's me.
Accountants kind of needed it though at some point, you know. I mean, it's been really interesting watching the kind of evolution of accountants over the last couple of years, I think, because, you know, at one time, let's face it, accountants were seen as a bit boring, weren't they?
Yeah,
I mean,
Graham, I think companies like Xero came along into the space and actually started making accountancy cool again. You know, but I think the entire industry has changed. The entire world has changed. I did a post this morning on LinkedIn. You know, back in 2019, what worked in 2019 wouldn't have worked in 2020. And I wonder, and I do question what worked in 2020, whether or not it's actually working in 2023, work from home and stuff. But that's a whole different controversial conversation.
Oh, well, we are quite happy to have that controversial conversation on this show. And we have had that conversation several times. So we're happy to take you up on it. Sarah, in terms of your business, and you work from home?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. How have you found the whole working from home piece?
I love it, but I'm really fortunate in that I'm blessed with an excellent setup here. I mean, my backdrop is not great because I work in the engine room of the house. Everything that goes in and out of this family home is somewhere in this room. So it's not very aesthetic, but in terms of setup, and I know you guys have got a bit of an ergonomic slant, I've got everything I need to work really well here. It's a nightmare if the Wi-Fi goes down, but other than that, it's really good. I'm from the Big Four, so I'm used to being surrounded by tens, if not hundreds of people. And so that is a huge, huge change for me. But as I mentioned earlier, there's so many Amazon sellers, and there's a huge community of accountants as well that I never knew existed. That I know Brad is a huge supporter of, and you know, when you come to the events and chat to us, there's just so I don't really feel like I'm that on my own.
When you were at one of the Big Four, you would have had people looking after you in terms of well-being and support, etc. Now that you're on your own, well, hopefully, okay, we snigger.
We would have had people working us very hard, Graham. I'm not sure well-being was front of mind.
Maybe they didn't then, okay, but you know, I wouldn't want to go there. But now that you're working from home, when there's nobody to support you, look over your shoulder, no line manager, etc., do you sometimes find that you just forget to look after yourself?
I don't, but I think I've probably learned the hard way. You know, I started PwC back in 2004, and we did actually have a program. To be fair to them, we had something called Zest for Life that existed back then. And the idea was that we were encouraged to get up from our desks, to walk around, to eat healthily. And I mean, if you look at it in a lot of detail as to why they had to do that program, I think it was because sadly a lot of people were falling ill and getting burnt out. But now it's drilled into me that I need to look after myself. Yeah,
Brad, one of the things that I quite like about some of the photos that you put on LinkedIn is that you're standing there even with a group of people looking at a board or something like that. It's quite dynamic. It's quite proactive. There's so many of those absolutely awful photographs that we get from sort of business leaders where they're hunched over a laptop somewhere, and you know, you're meant to think that they're really important because that's what they're doing, but actually they're just demonstrating that they have not a Scooby-Doo's when it comes to well-being. How about yourself, sir? How do you keep well whilst doing what you do?
I'm a big computer gamer. I have been for 40 odd years. And if you were playing a computer game and you come across a boss that is too difficult, you can sit there and you can try to defeat the boss, but you're just going to get frustrated and you're going to get weak. Your resolve's going to fall away. The same goes for problems. The same goes for challenges. And that's how I approach everything. We are playing the biggest computer game in the world. It's called life. So, you know, I've been 3 stone heavier before now. And you don't wake up one day and all of a sudden you size 44-inch waist. That happens over gradually. And my focus was on business success at any cost. And I ended up with success. And that cost was to me, to my family, to my mental state, just to my whole well-being. And one of the things that I kind of major on right now is that you are your best chance of success. You are your best chance of failure. If you're not right, your business isn't right. So where I come out when I work with people is I say, look, let's get the individual right. Yeah, but I did a mentoring session the other day with someone. Someone said, oh, are we going to talk about my business now? I says, we can do, but you're fucked up. So, we can spend the next 15 minutes talking about your business, great, or we can get you fixed. You tell me, I'm telling you, I think we need to get you fixed first. Get you fixed, you get your business, you get your life fixed. And I think what happens is so many people think they can get the business fixed, get the life fixed, and then everything else gets fixed. It doesn't work like that. And I know that through harsh reality of it. So I do look after myself. I go to the gym 4 times a week. I was just speaking over in Balamora, over in Portugal, for another accountant in Power Group. And actually, one of the things that happened there was, on the run up to that gig, I get my weight down. I'm like a boxer. I make certain that everything is right. I make certain that everything is right, even down to teeth bleaching, even down to the sunbeds, right? I do all these things to get myself so I feel confident, I feel good, I feel ready to go. And I think that what ends up happening is so many business owners don't do that. They just morph, and those minutes become hours, those hours become days, those days become weeks, those weeks become months, those months become years, those years become a life, and you end up in a place that you didn't actually want to be. And I would suggest that that's what you need to do. And it all starts with you. It all starts with belief. It all starts with your health. If you're not looked after, your business isn't looked after either. It's all connected.
Hey, Stephen, better take those pajama bottoms off now then, mate. Get into the proper attire before you come on. Come on.
I thought it was really interesting what Sarah said. Now, Sarah, I think you said 2006 when it was PwC. I think you said you began. But isn't it interesting how Sarah was exposed to that program of health and well-being 16, 17 years ago, and now sort of recognizes what she needs to do, where actually what you find is because enough organizations don't take it seriously enough or don't put really effective programs in place, years later, people are still suffering. By putting an effective program in place, Sarah's almost able to sort of self-diagnose.
I am now.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, I was hunched over a 13-inch laptop for many, many hours a day, and I ended up with physio. Like, I needed physiotherapy to recover from that job. So, but yeah, just to agree with what Brad says, like, I'm building this business now, Fruitful Accounting, but it's starting with me. It's starting with my health. Like, I've done the long hours, I've done the evenings, I've done the weekends, and I'm not doing it anymore. I found my specialism. I found what I'm really good at. I found the people I love working with, those private label brands who want to create something that no one else has created before, and Amazon just provides an incredible platform with such a huge audience to get it out there. But the accounting's a nightmare. So, I've worked out what I want to do, but it starts with, what am I eating? How much am I sleeping? How am I there for my family? Because if those basics aren't right, I can't look after my clients, and I'm just going to go back to where I was when I was in the Big Four, working crazy hours and really unhealthy. So, yeah.
I think it's funny in a way, because actually one of the things that all people like you are selling is you are selling your clients better health. But you might
definitely take their stress away.
Exactly. You might not necessarily realize that is like one of your selling points, but it certainly is a selling point.
It's the main one, really, for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. In today's age, Brad, how many businesses, small businesses, should develop by? Yeah, absolutely. Look at that.
So
go on, tell me about it.
Well, this is, I said about a computer game before. This is mine. This is what I do to evaluate exactly where I am. What's my optimism like? What's my pessimism like? What's my energy like? Am I pissed off? Am I happy? Am I sleeping well? Am I motivated? Are my finances right? Because, everything about this is you've got a car that when you take your car and you go for an MOT every single year, if you didn't take your car for an MOT, the first week you'd be fine. Then you start getting paranoid that you're driving without an MOT, that the police are there. Now, all of a sudden, 3 months on, your brakes are squeaking and so forth. When was the last time that you took yourself for an MOT? We don't do it. And actually, one of the things that I realized is that you are your biggest chance of success. So many businesses are all gassed up about their social media followers or their offices and this, that, and the other. Take it from me. If you lose your mental faculties, you've got nothing. And the reason I know that is I had a multi-million-pound business, and guess what? I lost my mental faculties because I was so convinced and so focused on business success at any cost that I lost control of who and what I was. I said to you that I I live my life like a computer game. That is exactly how I do it. On a daily basis, I evaluate myself. And it's easy then, once you've established that actually, all the areas that were wrong, your health, your fitness, your finances, once you start getting a pass, a 50-50 or fail in the 10 categories that I've got there, when I first, at the worst, if I go back down to the passes, so I've got things like family, health, relationships, fitness, diet, business, finances, focus. I had, going back 2012, I had a nervous breakdown. I'm all right now. But back in 2012, I had a nervous breakdown. And actually, if I was to have done that, I'd have had no passes, 1 50-50 and 9 fails. Now, as of this moment today, I've got 9 passes, 1 50-50 and no fails. So somewhere along the way, even though you look at me and I'm the same Brad that you'd have met 12 years ago, I'm a different Brad. And that's the bit that we need to understand. Just because you're good on one day doesn't mean that you're going to be good the next day. And what we've got to find is consistency in our days, consistency in our life, consistency in our decisions, and consistency as to who and what we are. So important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And being able to recognize that maybe we need help in certain bits, the bits that we really don't like as well. I mean, I'm guessing, Sarah, that actually some of the bits that you are now helping clients with are bits they really don't like.
Yeah, I don't think many people like bookkeeping. It's just not wildly exciting. I mean, generally, entrepreneurs do care about the data for sure. They care about the numbers, but they care about the data that is going to inform the decisions that they need to make. They don't want analysis paralysis, and they don't want to just go off gut feel. And there's the healthy balance, which is the bit that I help them with in the middle. But yeah, definitely taking away things that they don't want to do and just giving them the comfort that the person who's doing it actually understands their business model, because it's not a normal one. It's not like a bricks and mortar retail store or a restaurant or something that you'd understand from a textbook.
Is it the same sort of challenge everyone, sort of your clients sort of face, Sarah, or does it vary, or is there a common theme that runs through the challenges they're having?
There's a lot of common themes. So if I start with new sellers, they're generally just selling on Amazon UK. So I know what the issues are that they're going to face. They're going to be invoiced from Amazon Luxembourg. They're going to be invoiced from Amazon UK, depending on what the fees are. And depending on whether they're VAT registered, that will mean certain things. So yeah, everybody who's starting out doing that, they're in the same boat. And then there's complexities that come when they decide, I want to branch out and sell in Europe. And Amazon will offer you at least 3 different versions of how you can do that. Whether you choose where your stock is, or you let Amazon choose where your stock is, or you choose your territories, and all of that has got different VAT implications. So yeah, there's some similarities, but it gets, even at the basic level, it's quite complicated, and then it gets extremely complicated very fast, which is it's mainly why I don't really do anything else. I get so much information from Amazon, because as far as Amazon are concerned, I'm still a seller. I've still got a selling account. So I get all the Amazon emails that they send to sellers. I get all the updates, the pricing lists, and so on. And I do as much, CPD, continued professional development, in accounting and tax as I do in Amazon.
Wow. I mean, it's brilliant. And I love the fact that you're kind of simultaneously running the two things, that you really understand what it's like at the front end of that.
Yeah.
Plus you're being able to help people at the back end as well. I guess it gets really complicated when people start trying to sell a product which is sold by other people in another territory as well. And then it's down to, whose market you can have as well, and what Amazon will allow in terms of territories. That's just
what Amazon will allow. I mean, it's sadly, and this is the main reason I don't sell on it anymore, Amazon is not a very fair marketplace. And there's a lot of logic missing. They can deactivate you, they can suspend you, and there's no real reason why. So, and one of the benefits of working, I guess, with me is that I understand what some of the triggers are. So, for example, if you take out a loan with Amazon, don't for any reason change your company's registered office address. I mean, the two sound completely unrelated, and a normal accountant wouldn't know that. But the minute you change your registered office address, they'll probably ask for the loan to be repaid in full. And there's no rhyme or reason. I just know that they do it. So yeah, it's nuts, but fun for me anyway.
That was getting quite excited there from
yeah. Sarah, are some of the things do you think made deliberately difficult? Are there some things that you see that could be made easier, but actually are sort of made difficult to sort of make it complicated to move around?
They're not intentionally making things difficult, but they did put a couple of changes in. I don't know if it was a year ago or two, where they have come up with set scripts that Amazon seller support are allowed to send. So when you ask essentially a human for help, you get sent default answers that are often useless and unhelpful, and they have no choice inside Amazon but to send from this default script. That kind of thing is really, really frustrating. And sometimes you just have to ask and ask and ask again and just hope you get a different person on the end. But yeah, they're not trying to deliberately make it hard, but just because of the size of it. I mean, Amazon.co.uk is 25 years old this year. And obviously we weren't the first marketplace. It started in America. So they're so big that it can't help but be complicated. And the sellers are influenced by how Amazon itself is set up as well. So Amazon has its main companies in America and Luxembourg, as well as the UK. So they'll invoice for a lot of their services from those territories.
The infrastructure of Amazon is just ginormous. I don't think any of us fully comprehend just how big it is as an infrastructure. And actually, Amazon themselves have actually predicted or said that one day somebody will actually build a store on Amazon which will be bigger than Amazon. That's what they're kind of hoping for. That, you know, they're kind of hoping that somebody will actually take their infrastructure and run with it better than even they can run with it, which is the beauty of an incredibly clever business model. Brad,
it's very clever.
how do we create a business where somebody can build on our business and be even more successful than us? It's great, isn't it? He's on mute.
There we go. It's an interesting one. Sorry about that. Occupational hazard. It's an interesting one because I built a business that was significant, and 15 staff, 800 people out in the field, and I no longer have 15 staff. I no longer have 800 people out in the field. But you know what I've got? Contentment and happiness. And it's something that eludes so many business owners, that they think that they're going to get a bigger business, and you get a bigger business, and one day you're going to be able to go in the Maldives and all your staff are going to look after the business while you're there, and this, that, and the other. Take it from me. Well, I think, the thing that you need to kind of understand, why are you doing the business? Because actually what you can do, you can get yourself wrapped up into doing a business because you saw The Apprentice, or you saw The Dragon's Den, or this, that, and the other. But actually, the reality of what you're doing it for a business for is often the thing that many, many people forget. And you just end up on a treadmill, and you just keep running. And you've no idea why you're running, but you have to keep running because you can't stop. And that's what happened to me. And in some respects, the pandemic, even though it wiped me out and it was as disastrous as it was from a business perspective, I always ask this question: whenever the shit hits the fan in your life, in your business, in your world, what does this make possible? And what it makes possible is for a fresh start in my case. So when it comes to building a bigger business, we can't all be Jeff Bezos. You'd like to think that Jeff Bezos has no challenges anymore. I can guarantee he does. You'd like to think that Alan Sugar doesn't have any challenges. I think he was. Peter Jones, he does. So this is why are we doing it? There comes a point when you've got enough of everything in your life, enough money, enough time, enough rooms in your home, a big enough car. I don't understand. So this idea about hyper business, it's not for me. Hyper happy, I'll take that.
Yeah, same. That's my plan too. I'm not looking to be the biggest or the fastest scaling or the fastest growing accountancy firm. I don't want a ton of staff. I literally just want a handful of clients I make them so happy. And like I said, I don't work evenings or weekends anymore. And for me, that's life-changing because I just want my health and my family. But
and I guess if you do become too big, it takes you away from what you enjoy doing, Sarah, because then you wouldn't be doing you wouldn't be doing the do, as it were. You'd be getting involved in staff and holidays and recruitment and all that stuff on top of it. Actually, it would take away from what you enjoy doing. Actually, by being small and working on your own, actually, you enjoy the day-to-day activity. Suddenly, if you became 5 people, that enjoyment could disappear, and therefore, actually, there's no point becoming bigger because it's taken away the fun and the enjoyment and the kick you get from it.
I mean, they're not employees, but I do have some support. So like the payroll, I have people who help me with that. I have people who help with the bookkeeping as well. But what I love to do is the relationships with the sellers, because those are the people that I've gone into this business for. They're the ones I want to talk to. They're the entrepreneurs who are looking to build something big, and I'll support them with the numbers. But yeah, my priority's different. Yes, human focus.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to Ellie. Love hearing this. Human focused choices first, long time coming. Absolutely. In the middle of the pandemic, the press talked about the Great Resignation, but actually it wasn't the Great Resignation in a way. I think it was such a misleading title, wasn't it? Because actually these business leaders weren't actually choosing to resign. They weren't just going nowhere and doing nothing. What they were choosing was a different lifestyle. They were choosing to do their work in a different way. So a lot of them weren't resigning. Well, they might have been resigning from that job, but they were moving to another job or another position where actually they could get more of what their life wanted it to be.
I think it was a great resignation mentally. I think a lot of people have tuned out. I mean, I've been on this caper for the last 10 years. Whether I pulled it off or not, it was a different ballgame. But I've been on this one for, I have one client right now who's an accountant who runs a significant business. A significant small business. Okay, and they have been in it for 10 years now, and they were deeply unhappy. I've worked with them now for 5 months. 5 months in, nothing's changed with the business. Nothing, right? The business is exactly the same size as it once was. The difference is they're fundamentally happy. And I think that this is the bit that what's happened is we've been comparing ourselves to what we see on social media, on LinkedIn, and we're comparing ourselves on Instagram. And you're always going to find someone thinner, someone sexier, someone with more money, someone younger. You're always going to do that. And what we need to do as individuals and as business owners is compare our lives to our lives. Me, I came on here today. I'm the UK's #1 motivational business speaker, the 4-time best-selling author. Or am I the guy whose dad died when I was 6 months old, who left school with no qualifications, who got addicted to drugs twice, who got shot at when I was 21 years old, who's done 4 years on benefits, who delivered pizza at 31? Two sides of the same coin. And if I go back far enough to anyone's life, I'm going to find something questionable. The difference is what we've done in today's world with social media is everyone's putting the best foot forward. And consequently, you think, well, okay, my best isn't as good as that, what people are showing you. And let's be quite clear, what you're seeing on social media isn't real. Far from it. I could paint a picture of me getting into private jets and helicopters all day long. It's not the real world. My real world is emptying the bins, going, shit, I forgot me plastic bags and picking up poop bags with the dogs. But you don't see that on social media. So I just think we've got to start getting real about life, real about business again, because I think we've lost our way.
It's so true. And it gives me hope, Stephen, because, dad dancing will make a comeback.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's the thought. I mean, I know we've discussed this and it's been discussed in a wider forum, but why do people do that? Why LinkedIn as an example, why do people put these pictures on of them getting into jets and these fancy holidays?
Because it works, Stephen. It works. This is the problem, is that we've become addicted to likes, right? We've become addicted to likes. And the problem is if you are real and you get 10 likes, or you're faking and you get 100 likes, we're addicted to it, and that encourages that whole behavior. So, and it's self-perpetuating, as well as I do. It is easy. The social media algorithms are geared up for dispute and discussion. If you go and get something contentious, work from home's a load of shit. If I go and post it on LinkedIn now, I will have hundreds of things, whether it's right or wrong. But what happens is then I build up an audience that people might be, not like what I've said, but in 2 months' time, they forget what I said, and I've built up that audience. I've got friends of mine who are influencers who play the game. It's wrong, but it's encouraging division. And that, I think, is the problem right now. We need less of this, and we need to get back to some sort of normality. But look, whilst I'm saying this, there'll be someone right now posting a picture of them wearing a bikini and some tripe, and yet he'll be getting 100 likes. I've got a friend of mine who's got 200 followers, and he runs a significant business, massive business. He's called Graham, and he has a beard, and he looks like a math teacher. He gets no engagement whatsoever, whereas there's someone in the same field wears a bikini and gets 100 times more engagement. So the authority, and people are looking at these experts not based on their ability or their intelligence or experience, but actually based on the visual. Dangerous times we're in. Dangerous times. Yeah.
And I've told Derek to stop wearing that bikini.
It was Graham, but
honestly. Yeah. No, Derek, the guy that does the bikini wearing.
Oh, right, yeah. Sorry, my bad.
Goodness me. But no, it's
you
true.
You should change my plans for this afternoon then.
Right, yeah.
I have to cancel the bikini shoot and have to do something to do with numbers.
Well, there are people beginning to complain about it, though. I mean, there are people starting to see through it and go, well, actually, what we need here is we need more value. But
Graham,
we all will.
They can unfollow, but they choose not to. This is the thing. We choose not to. They can unfollow and those numbers would go down, but people don't. People want to be outraged. And that's the danger we've got right now, is that it encourages outrage. I used to build a career in about 2003, the first generation of the internet. I was one of those guys who created outrage and got lots of following, albeit on forums. Same principle. I just think that we're in danger zone right now. And actually, people want to be outraged. People want to say it's disgusting, but they don't do anything about it. They don't unfollow, disconnect.
Well, let's do something about it, because I think one of the problems is, why are we doing it? And the reason we're doing it is because we're following dopamine, right? We want a dopamine hit. Everything's about a dopamine hit. We just want that instant kind of, oh, yeah, somebody's liked me, somebody's done this, somebody's done that. That's one of the reasons it kind of brings us that momentary physiological change, the brain change, because we've got that hit. But I think we're forgetting, and I actually wrote an article on this earlier this week about, I think we're forgetting that there were prior to the internet, there were other things that gave us joy in our lives, right? And actually, we can get dopamine from other things. We can get dopamine from actually enjoying other people's real company. I mean, Brad, you built a business on it, so you know the value of that. Getting people together, having conversation, that actually gives us dopamine. Getting out in nature gives us a dopamine hit. There are other things that we can do. Should we, as part of health and well-being for people within the workplace, should we be thinking about not just the environment, not just about how your desk is laid out and whatever, but what gives us joy at work?
I think there's a danger zone here. You know as well as I do, a McDonald's burger tastes better than butternut squash. You know, and that's the world that we're in. Everything has been dialed up. So what used to be a treat before isn't a treat. You know, back in my day as a kid, we'd have a 10p mix bag, showing me age now, on Friday.
Oh, yeah, now it's a £1, plus bag of Haribo.
Yeah, Haribo every single day. And they're having, you know, so the world has changed. And I think if we go back a generation or two, the focus would have been, one word to sum it up, would have probably been family or community. Now it's materialism. We're all guilty of it. We're all guilty of it. And I think that you are going to be pushing back. You know, we talk about the high streets, you know, in falling away, and yet we're all guilty of pressing the one-click Amazon. Yeah. Every single one of us, yet we're all bitching about the local high street not running and rolling. And this is within it. We're all part of this machine, and the only way that you're going to stop this machine isn't by saying, "Hey guys, we all need to do something different," because you're going to get swamped out. You're not going to be community. You're not going to get your message across. The only way that we can fix this thing is by disconnecting ourselves. I've taken myself off the news. I've been off the news now for 2 years. I've got no idea what is going on outside of my world. No idea about the wars. I've got no idea. I swear, not 2 years. I am blind. So my world is impacted. The things that I can impact is by my mindset. And I think when we start saying about people's internet habits and people using social media, you're never going to do anything about it. It's a fallacy. So I wouldn't even waste my breath or time thinking we can do something about it. But what we can do is we can do it about our lives, our impact.
But then
it's a great point there by Brad, though, Graham, about the high street. Yeah. Everyone acts absolutely outraged when everything's closing down. But as you say, it's how easy it is to press that button or do that. If you're so outraged, do something about it. But it's almost like it's a train they can't get off, is it? They're on it, they can't get off it. They act outraged, but the reality is you're actually the problem. You've caused the problem by doing that.
Correct, in the same way that we go, you know, traffic jams. Oh, look at all the frigging traffic. Yes, you're part of the traffic. And this is the thing, right? This is the thing that we need to accept, that the problem is we, as a society, I Googled something the other day, or ChatGPT'd, what was the fall of Rome? What are the reasons for the fall of Rome? I know very little about history, but it gave me 10 reasons as to why Rome fell. 8 of them are as valid today as they was when Rome fell. We are heading towards a really difficult societal situation right now. And I think we have all taken the piss out of the world, out of society, out of materialism. And I'm guilty of it. I am guilty of it. Okay. But at some point, there's going to have to be a payback. And I don't know when that is.
Interesting. Sarah, well, it's good for you, isn't it? if people keep clicking on Amazon.
Yeah, I don't want the high street to fail. I use my high street here in Bromsgrove relatively often. I can't get freshly baked sourdough from Amazon, but I can get it from the baker that's at the market every Tuesday and every Saturday down the road. So that's where I go, and that's where I'll be going tomorrow. And also, like the clothes for my children, a lot of them come from the charity shops that are in Bromsgrove, which are awesome. It's a mix. Yeah, I think we need a balance between Amazon is incredible for providing a platform for entrepreneurs who have come up with products that meet a need that they can't get into bricks and mortar stores yet. Those are the people that I like working with. So there are different ways of selling on Amazon. One of them is private label. Another one is arbitrage, where you essentially buy stuff for cheap from Superdrug and sell it on Amazon at a higher price. It's the private label entrepreneurs that are my people that I want to serve. And then they are the people who are trying to make a difference for their family and their life. And maybe they were part of the Great Resignation as well. But like you said, and in some respects, I guess I resigned in 2018 and then another one in 2020, I think. Because we just, we want something different. We still want to add value to society, but not at the expense of health and family.
I think we can make a difference. I'm going to argue a little bit with Brad here, because I think actually we can start to make a difference. I mean, really, it starts with, and you're right in that respect, I think it does start with people actually doing it for themselves, right? Because that's showing influenced behavior. If people can see that you're doing something different, then that has an impact on someone else doing something different. We can all believe that actually if only I do it, it doesn't make a difference to the rest of society. But we have proven over time that actually the more that individuals do it, that collectively we then create a collective of people doing it, and then that starts to have an influence. No?
Yes, I during the pandemic, I created something called We Are the Cavalry, in that everyone was waiting for Boris Johnson or the government to sort this out, and there wasn't. And I said at the time that we are the cavalry. There is no one arriving to save you, your business. Get used to it. It would be lovely to think that all of a sudden, after your bounce back loan's gone, that's you out of the game. So we have to collectively come together. I think that what's happened is I think that we've become islands. I think the pandemic separated a lot of community and a lot of individuals. We all got affected mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually, dare I say. But actually, it wasn't just us. It was every single individual got affected in different ways. And you didn't know how somebody was affected. Your view of how you've been affected everyone else. I don't think we've actually got back. I don't think we've got back to normal since the pandemic. I think when I go into organizations, the thing that has been affected the most is culture. And culture is the glue that holds an organization together. It's the culture is the glue that holds a family together, a family unit. Your family unit would be different to mine, what we do and so forth. And I think we've got to find that back, get the culture back as collectives, and also get that belief back as individuals. If we can crack that, I think then it's easy to deal with the problems. But if we don't get the culture together, and we don't get our confidence together and our belief back in day to day, then anything that we do beyond that is a stretch goal, and it's going to be really difficult, I think, to try galvanize and bring people together on that basis.
Brad, do you think if we're seeing more people go back to the office now, do you think that culture piece that you just spoke about, would that be easier to fix if more people were physically in the same workspace as each other that they were pre-March 2020? Is it as simple as that or not?
Well, yes and no. Look, I was once an employee, difficult to believe. I know what it's like to have a snow day off, the boiler's gone, to have a thing, sitting on your ass at home, working from home, brilliant, right? But the problem is that with working from home, ultimately, bills need to be paid. The reason that wages get paid is because profit is made. Without profit in business, wages, and I think this is the danger when you've got people insisting on staying at home, and you can do a Zoom. I can work from home perfectly fine. Well, you can, but actually I can get your wage for a third of it over in the Philippines and somebody equally. So we're in a real danger zone right now as a society, as business leaders. Do I think that all problems are solved through staff being in the office? No. On the contrary, and I've always been flexible working way before the pandemic, right? I wasn't bothered about time sheets. I wasn't bothered about that. What I was bothered about was output. That was the bit that actually made me, that was a bit about output and not input. And I think that we've got too tuned in to input and not output. I couldn't give two tosses if my lead team spent 10 minutes in the office but scored 5 goals. I'd rather did that than spend 40 hours in the office and score no goals. So it's about output for me, not input. And actually, I think you'll get more output through people, and we're social animals. We need to belong. There's something about going in the office and having a rabbit about, have you seen the latest Netflix show? Now, I'm not one for somebody working there, trust me, nuts off from morning to night, far from it. And I used to be responsible for sleeping under my desk in the office. So I get what it's like to work hard. But actually what we need to do is effectively, work smarter and work and recognize though that employers do need you back in there, because if you don't have an employee, you don't have a job, you don't pay your mortgage, and it's all connected. So it's really important, I think, now that workforces start recognizing that employers have as much flexible working rights as you do.
Yep. We've talked about this several times before, but do you think that we need a major sort of head shift in terms of our understanding of time and work? Because I really do. I mean, I just think that traditionally we've grown up with the idea that if you work for a period of time, then that equals success or that equals output. But ultimately, especially when we're thinking of the idea of well-being, we need to sort of value people's time just doing things that may not necessarily look like work, but have good value output to them.
I think,
Sarah, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, a bit. I mean, I heard something the other day, this sort of maybe tenuously linked, but Rory, I think his name's Rory Sutherland, the guy from Ogilvy, and he was talking about a doorman and how, if you look at the job description of a doorman, it was basically to open the door, but actually they do so much more. And when they replaced, they said to the company, we can replace your doorman with an automatic door and it'll save you this much money. And then they realized that there'd be homeless people sleeping in the door. And then they realized that, there were all these other problems that the doorman was sorting. But I think, I'm very much of the same mindset that results matter so much more than time, because I think if you manage time, and I started my career for years doing timesheets, like every 6 minutes I had to account for what I was doing. And it's really hard, but also it doesn't really encourage efficiency. The only thing that encouraged efficiency was the fact that I was doing 14 hours a day and I needed to do a lot less than that so I could do things like sleep and eat. But with my business now, with Fruitful Accounting, I'm certainly not doing timesheets, and I'm very, very focused on, a much more results output focused approach. And the bigger picture as well. It's not just processes and checklists. I'll also take a step back a lot of the time and think about, the business and my clients as a whole. So
I mean, would it shock you if I told you that, even sort of going back 4 years or so, when I was still doing some assessments out there, that there are organisations where people in the UK, you still have to put your hand up to go to the toilet.
In an office?
In an office organisation, yeah. Would that shock you? Because it's absolutely fundamentally the truth. There are still organisations where your time is ticked like that, so that actually, you have to put your hand up.
We had certain freedoms with timesheets. You could work to some extent when you wanted to work, but the work still needed to get done. So, and I've read this somewhere else. I think it's like, it's great being self-employed because now I can choose which 18 hours of the day I want to work. But,
yeah, and I'm working 25 of them. Yeah, I know.
Right, I know. Yeah, we normally used to joke about that with the people who worked in transactions because they did the longest hours and they would have the 39-hour days. But I just, yeah.
We saw that from statements from like Goldman Sachs in the middle of the pandemic, when it came out, or we've got our people are working 95-hour weeks. What fantastic people we've got working 95 hours a week. Yeah, they're dying on their feet, literally. It's just we've got to start valuing people's time properly, and we've got to start trusting. And trust is incredibly difficult. isn't it? Brad, do you want to say something a little bit about trust?
Yeah, I think, that's you'll find there's something with the special forces. I've got a friend of mine who's a special forces, and there's something that they have in that you can have someone who is a high performer, but their trust levels, these are two things. So performance and trust. And actually, special forces would rather have someone who's a lower performer and higher trust as part of a team. And that's something that trust over performance is crucial. And you wouldn't think that. So high performance, trust low, it's a sliding scale. So from my perspective, trust is something that I major on, in that I'm a man of my word. Anyone that knows me knows I'm a man of my word. If I say I'm going to do something, it happens. Otherwise, I won't say it's going to happen. And that's why for people that I used to mentor, I used to have a group of 200 people that I mentored, they had complete confidence, because anytime that I'd ever share something with them, I would be honest. And that means I've had people who have been in tears because I said, your business isn't going to work. I would rather share with you right now rather than you go into market and go and remortgage your house. So it's not going to work currently. So trust is something that has always been a thing for me. And my network, we used to have a mantra, which was meet, like, know, and trust. That was the tagline: meet, like, know, and trust. And anytime that you ever meet someone, so we've met today for the first time. I like you guys, but actually you'll meet some people on occasion, you don't like them. So you never get to know them. You never get to trust them. So if you think about your best friends, you met them, you like them, you know them, you trust them. Trust is crucial to business. Trust is absolutely crucial to life. Trust is absolutely crucial to everything. And I think that every time you got to ask, can I go to the toilet? You erode a little piece of trust. And that is when you get underperforming. And the only way, let me be quite clear, and this is where boiler houses like that go wrong, is when you're whipping a tired horse, all you'll end up doing is having a whipped, tired horse that is resentful. And there is better ways. I'm a motivational speaker. There is better ways to get more output that doesn't involve whipping. Anyone can whip a horse. That's easy. What's less easy and more effective and long term is being able to inspire someone. And where businesses, and I work with businesses, where I focus on them, is that their business goals, truth, the staff don't give a shit. Right? It would be lovely to go, they care that you got a 3% target. They're not bothered. What they're bothered about is for them. And that's the bit that you need to do. You need to tune in the individual's goals with the business goals. And then that's when you get results. But old school organizations like that, it's all about the business. Truth, don't give a talk. And that's where you end up losing your staff. Exactly.
We were talking about this comment that Chris made. My sister works for a big, what I love about this is that it's a healthcare provider. That's the irony in here. Yeah. It's a healthcare provider. Where you have to
this isn't good for your health.
Well, you don't have to worry about you don't have to worry about toilet breaks if you've got an engaged team. When you've not got an engaged team, you've got to worry about toilet breaks, because you know as well as I do, that's when you sit on the phone scrolling for 10 minutes because you don't want to be in your job. So actually, if we fix the job and the environment, then people don't. It's all connected.
Exactly.
It's all connected.
When you change the company culture to a culture where when your people leave work, they're still talking about work, but not in a work way, but they're talking about what we're building, what we're moving on to, what we're achieving as an organization. It's brilliant being here because we're achieving this. Those people are coming to work because they love what the company are doing. They as you say, there is an alignment between them as an individual and that organization. If you don't have that, then you might as well go home. And that should be the starting point for any organization these days.
Old school leadership, that's old school leadership, which is actually you're the boss, everyone's got to listen to you. And that doesn't wash in today's society.
No. The only thing that drives an organization these days is know what your massive transformational purpose is as an organization, get that down, make sure that everybody's on the same page with it. Build your objectives around it. If you don't do that, then it's just not going to work. There you go. What's your massive transformational purpose, Sarah? Yeah, well, good. There we go.
Only because you just mentioned it.
Well, you call yourself fruitful, so there must be something fruitful in there.
Yeah, fruitful. I know, and like I said it right at the beginning, it means producing good or helpful results, and that's what I want. When people come to me, I want them to feel that their accounts and their numbers are in safe hands, and that if they want to grow their business, I'm here to help them grow. If they, it's for me to have a fruitful business and for them to have a fruitful business as well. But for me, fruitful doesn't mean absolutely huge when it comes to my accounting firm. Like we talked about, for me, fruitful, it's my whole life. It's my family. It's being there to pick my children up at 3 o'clock every day. My son's just started school. When my daughter started school 2 years ago, I couldn't be there for her, and I was meant to be, and work meant that I couldn't. And now Joshua's just started, and I took him to school and I picked him up every day, and it was brilliant. And so it's more about a fruitful life. It's holistic. It's the social side, seeing friends, and fitting all of that in around doing something that adds value to society, which is helping entrepreneurs with their numbers so that they know what their filing obligations are, that somebody is doing it who's competent, and it just takes that stress away for them. But it's not ruining my life. It's not going to take away.
So if you're out there today and you've got an Amazon marketplace, or you've got your business on Amazon, etc., those are the values by which you started your business and you want your business to grow, etc. Now you know who your accountant should be, right? Because your values and Sarah's values match, and that means that you're a match made in heaven. Simple as that. Brad, tell us before we go, what's your massive transformational purpose?
I'm religious, and that religious is called Bradism. Help many, hurt few, live life. And my entire business mission statement is about making a difference and making a profit. That's it, making a difference and making a profit. And if you can do that in your life, and if you can do that in your business, you've cracked it. Because if you're making if you're making a profit, but you're not making a difference to your life, there's something going very wrong. And that's what I help people. I help people find success, not success.
Oh, it's fantastic. Stephen,
I was thinking you're going to come to me.
Final thoughts for today.
Yeah, I mean, just following on from what Sarah and Brad said, I think for me, I think it's just trying to ensure that more people are healthy and productive at work. And that's what we do as a business. But actually getting the word spread out further. There are still people, like we've touched on, Graham, there are still people who are suffering physically from being at work. And I think if we can get more people healthy and productive, that's what we're looking to do. Spread the word.
And as I was saying to Brad just before I came on, one of the reasons we achieve that, or try and achieve that through doing things like this, is we're trying to bring people together who have previously worked in silos, who have not actually talk to each other in terms of the help and support that they are offering to different organizations. And if we can make those conversations happen, and we can all understand the value that we can bring together, but more importantly, the collective value that we can then bring together, then we can actually start to make a real difference in people's lives. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation today. I've got to thank everybody that's been involved. Stephen, thanks for being here today.
Welcome. No
Sarah, thank you so much. I love the name Fruitful Accounting. I think that's marvelous. Let's work together some more in the future. Let's
going through a rebrand at the moment.
Fruitful. Well, I can't wait to see that. Which fruit in particular? Cherries? Any particular fruit?
I think it's still going to stay with the orange. I've got to stay with Amazon orange.
You've got to stay with Amazon orange. And Brad, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, sir. Let's get together for that coffee sometime. Yeah, I can't believe it. Just 39 minutes.
Neighbours.
Neighbours, everybody.
Oh, don't encourage him.
Don't encourage him. We'll see you all again, same time, same place next week. If you've enjoyed this, please do share it with other people. And you can catch up on previous episodes at wellbeing.com. It's only a very easy thing to put in your URL browser, etc. So please, no problem at all. Thank you so much for joining us. See you again next week, same time, same place, 12 o'clock Friday. Bye for now.
Bye.